Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our panel, or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, are my excellent co-hosts Claire Milan.
Hello.
And Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right, Cathal, what did we watch this week?
This week we watched My Josephine by Barry Jenkins of, amongst others, Moonlight fame. It is set in a laundromat in the US, somewhere in the US, in the immediate aftermath of 9/11. They are a young couple. It focuses on a young couple who are Muslim, and they work in this laundromat. So they, because it is post 9/11, for Muslim people living in that country, it probably wouldn't have been, shall we say, the nicest time. So they decide to offer to clean people's flags, US flags, for free. Now, none of this is actually said. It's not explicit. It's implied, and it's very much a sort of a show, not tell kind of film. It's narrated by the male character whose name is Adid, and I should say it stars Basil Hamden and Sabah Shariat, and they play Adid and Adela. Now, I got that from the credits. They don't actually say that. And there's very little conversation. There is one small conversation in the middle, but most of the time it's just Adid narrating in Arabic over the film, and it's very much a sort of a meditative piece. Like I said, there's no real dialogue, and it's really just about sort of the imagery, and you can see he's sort of playing with the form. I saw an interview that he gave, and he said at the time he was a big fan of Nigella Bites, and he said he noticed the way she used to transition between scenes, where she would come out of focus and come into focus, and he used that. And you also see there's another scene where he's just looking at the washing machine, and you just see him turning, and the camera turns to mimic the action of the washing machine. So he's sort of like, he's playing with the form. What he should say is that it's still his favorite film that he's made. So high praise indeed. But you can see elements of his style that he went on to use in Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk. So it's very nice, very poetic and kind of beautiful in its own way.
It's a nice little film. It's funny because you do see like him developing his style in this, and I did get that vibe from it because we obviously know how his career has progressed since making this film. And it's funny because you can kind of see him trying stuff, and that, like, it felt kind of almost student filmish in a bit of way, because he was trying stuff, and you mentioned the transitions as well, and it was like a style choice, and it's like, I don't know if this works or not, but I'm gonna go for it for this film. And so it is interesting the way it is done. I remember after 9/11, and everybody had flags. Like everywhere you went, there were flags everywhere. You drive down the road, and there's a farm, and like it was just lined with flags along the road and stuff. It was insane after 9/11, the number of flags there were everywhere. And so it was funny when they were like, it's not too many, only like 6 a day and stuff. And it's like, well, okay, well, I guess that's not too bad. But it does go to show you how many flags were in that country after that happened. But it is sad that they felt that they kind of needed to offer that as Muslims in the US, and like, okay, well, maybe we won't be harassed if we offer to wash people's flags for free. So there is kind of a sad aspect of it. But I like the fact that was the unsaid story versus the said story, which is kind of his love of the girl, but it's a very, like, not a passionate love. it's a friendly love, if that makes sense. And it was kind of funny because there's like a bit of dialogue where he's like, you know, she's very she's not she's very what does he call her? Something like just very, very normal, very like, you know, she the way he describes her is like, that doesn't make you sound like you like passionately care about this woman. It makes it sound like, okay, yeah, she's very stable. So that is why I like her, kind of a thing. So it's interesting that that's the story being told with the backdrop of the whole post 9/11 thing, which
It's
is an
interesting the way he compares his wife to one of Napoleon's. Napoleon had two wives, which I didn't know, and he mentions it was the one, Josephine, his wife. Was it? Is she called? Is Josephine this woman's name, or is it?
No,
Josephine was the wife,
but not the character in this film. So
no.
Okay, but Napoleon's wife was Josephine, and Napoleon loved Josephine, and the other woman was Napoleon married her because he wanted an heir, and so this man compares his wife to Josephine, the woman he loves, and I think it's like as if they have a loveless marriage, and it looks like he loves her more than she loves him. And there's an interesting bit where she walks away and she's talking to a homeless man, but you never see the homeless man. And then she walks back and he's like, who are you talking to? A homeless man. And what did you say? I think it was about love, she mentions.
Yeah.
Like they talked about love, I think.
Yeah, love.
Yeah, and so that was kind of interesting. It's like a marriage. It could have been an arranged marriage. It's like, no, but it's a very multi-layered film. Like there's stuff that's going on the surface and there's stuff that's underneath, and it's beautiful cinematography. There's really a kind of unusual green blue hue to the film, and so I obviously, we all know the film Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk, which are two stunning films. And I had forgotten who Barry Jenkins was before I watched this film. And I was like, oh my God, that's the guy who did the two amazing films like Moonlight. And it was interesting that this is I think this is his first short. And it says Florida State University. And I think he went there. So was this a college project or something? I'm not sure.
That's the vibe I got from it.
Yeah. And it was, yeah, I just thought, it's kind of a simple setup, but very powerful. And because it's just after 9/11, they are cleaning the flags for free. And just probably because they don't want to be, they want to protect themselves. They don't want to be attacked or, people prejudice against them. But even the way they handle the flag, they're so gentle about it and even talk about that. And they talk about the flag. It doesn't really get that dirty because it doesn't hit the ground. And it's like there's double meaning to that. And yeah, I think when they're cleaning the flag, it could be maybe talking about their marriage as well. And I love the beautiful cinematography with the washing machine. I haven't really seen it done before. It was very clever, very experimental with the thing spinning around the drum and then the camera spinning as well. And even at the end, the way they fold the flag, I don't know, Milo, that's certain way, isn't it? They fold them.
You're supposed to fold it a certain way. That's why they did it that way. Yeah.
And the way they treated it with respect, like so respectful. And maybe because in America, they want respect or they respect the country. I don't know, it's probably double meanings to that. But yeah, there's some beautiful cinematography as well, especially towards the end where they're both standing at the door, the big, and then they're far apart. I think that's
the other thing. They're always where there's space.
Yeah.
There's not a physical closeness between them.
No. Either. And you can feel that off them. You can feel perhaps he loves her and she doesn't love him. And she's speaking English and he's saying speak Arabic. So he's trying to hold on to his culture or his identity. And maybe she wants to become more American. There's a complete disconnect. Yeah, I thought it was absolutely a beautiful film.
Now, I know you mentioned that they're married. I don't know that is necessarily true, but I don't think it's ever mentioned. So, I said they're a couple. They may not.
Maybe they're not married.
It could be.
Sorry to interrupt you, alcohol, but I had that vibe like at the beginning, especially with the way he was describing her. I thought he was like a coworker or a friend, and he had this
Oh,
like infatuation with her from afar. And it wasn't until that they were in kind of washing the flags together that I started to think maybe they were a couple.
Yeah.
okay. So it's not clear. I thought they were
Mm.
married. It's interesting. You all took different things away, isn't it?
Hmm.
Well, I mean, but my initial feeling was that they weren't, and it was maybe he wanted it more than she does, or she's maybe oblivious to his feelings. But um, I yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But like there are sort of subtext to this, I presume, and that in like the flag folding was one. Like when they were doing that flag folding, there was nobody watching them, so they could have just done it any way they wanted. But so it did sort of show that they did respect it, that they weren't they weren't people to be feared, and also when in that conversation when he asked her why don't you speak Arabic, she says why not English, and because there's no reason or it's okay. The message I got was that it was okay to speak English and okay to speak Arabic. And I thought it was interesting that he did narrate in Arabic, that it was a deliberate choice by the director to do that, because particularly in that time, it would have been associated with, the sort of the protagonists of 9/11, shall we say. Um, so it was showing it was using the language in a different way, in a sort of a softer, more kind of a poetic way, and introducing that to America, like a language is it isn't just the language of terrorism.
And it's interesting. It seemed they worked through the night, so it's. I think at the end it's daylight, isn't it? It's the morning. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. It's an interesting. I suppose it shows kind of their isolation. Like if it was during the day, there'd be people walking in and it'd be really really busy. But the fact it's at night as well, it's a kind of there's a lot of silence to the film as well. There's a lot of like it's not too much. It's not stuffed with dialogue, which is quite interesting. But yes, they work. The fact they worked through night shift, and then the color of the film was quite an interesting choice. It was like the blue, the green, it added a certain atmosphere to it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I guess we should rate it then. I'll go first. Um yeah, I mean, it does have that student film vibe to it, but I mean, if this was a student film that he made, fantastic work. And it clearly shows why he has been so successful since. I don't know if I loved it, but I definitely really liked it. So I'm going to go 4 stars.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, this was Barry Jenkins' calling card. This is what started his career. Yeah, it's kind of simply done, but very effective and some beautiful moments. So for me, it's 4 stars.
Okay. Yeah. I suppose you go into from knowing who made it, so to an extent that might influence how you interpret it or how you feel about it. But it is very very nice piece, very beautiful piece in a way. So I will give it 4 stars.
Mm, 4 stars all around. You heard it here, folks. We agreed on a film. Not often that it happens, but it does occasionally happen. So check this out. Of course, we'll put it into the notes so you can click on it and watch it. Let us know what you think by leaving a comment or by reaching out to us on social media at Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at No Budget Show. And with that, we will say goodbye and see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
But